Is this lighting good?
It's so good. All right. Hey, everyone. This is called Drinks with an ENFP. I have my friend Erica here.
How's it going?
Hey, it's Erica. She's a classy lady from Minneapolis, and I just wanted to ask her a few questions. You're very welcome. I wanted to ask you a few questions about being an ENFP.
Sure.
My first question is, do you have a lot of friends?
Yeah, I have a lot of friends.
No, but seriously,
But close friends. They're like, I like them all, and they're not like random people that I don't know and just one time met. They're people that I care about.
Okay, so you go to an event where it's something you love doing, like swing dancing or whatever, and there's like 50 people you don't know. Like, are you comfortable in that setting?
Oh, absolutely. I'm actually, one of my biggest fears is that I'm going to show up to a party. Like, if someone's like, oh, just come into the house, it's fine. I'm afraid I'm going to show up to the wrong house party and not know like
that you're
2 or 3 hours and and really never figure out like, oh, the person who invited me isn't here. And not realize it's because I'm not at their house.
That is such an ENFP situation.
Legitimate concern.
Okay. So walk me through what you think being an ENFP means, or like tell me some of the things that you've learned about like what that is.
Can I walk through the acronym?
Yes.
Okay. So the first one is E is for, can I put this down?
Mm-hmm.
Being extroverted, which just means that you get your energy from being with other people.
Yes.
I find that if I'm in a social setting, I usually am excited. I can continue on with my energy. I think 2 being an F, I'm already getting into the other letters.
Yeah.
I think that because it's not that I just have a lot of friends, like quantity-wise, the quality is also very high, even though there's a large quantity. I think that there are some cases where me being out actually is draining because I put so much energy into those relationships, even though they seem to other people like I have so many friends, so how could I possibly keep up with all of them? Right. Does this happen to you? Can you remember people's names as well as you can remember their stories?
No.
Not at all.
Oh, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't remember people's names.
I can't remember because for me, like, it's so much more significant of who that person is, as opposed to like.
You think the name would be part of it, but
but for me, like, you say your name one time and then you get into this long explanation
story.
of who they are.
Who are you? Tell me everything. Yeah.
So I will have no idea what someone's name is for years. I'm like, how's your mom? How's
years.
This thing? I'm not kidding.
How's your mom, Kathy?
Yeah.
What was your name again? Yeah. I definitely have done that. Yeah, I know what you mean about...
People take it really badly. They take it personally.
Well, it's good to know names.
Well, I'm sure it is.
I know.
But I don't... Also, people use my name all the time when they approach me. They're like, Erica, how are you? And I'm like, Jason? They're like, Stephanie. Like, you know?
Stephanie, I'm a girl. I'm a girl.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
No, I know what you're saying about wanting to put a lot of energy into those relationships. That... if I hang out with like one of my very close friends, it's very fulfilling and very deep, but at the same time, after I've had that, I actually feel very satisfied. Like I feel like I don't want to go do that again for another like 3 hours. Yeah. And so it's like the E is an E to a point, but I think that large group setting scenario where it's like giant swing dance full of people or whatever it might be, like thrive, you know, like I'm excited. It's usually in context that I love. In a context that I don't love as much, if it's something I'm not as interested in, or it's like someone dragged me to something that's their passion, then I'm a little bit more like, I'm cool talking like a group of 6 for a while. So ENFP, so do you know what the N versus S means at all?
Isn't it sensing versus intuition?
Yeah, that's what I understand.
So I think sensing...
I've heard it described as like literally using your senses.
So mine is like 51 to 49, like straight down the middle. So I guess I could go either way.
Right.
But for the intuition, I think, no, I have no idea. What is the difference?
Oh, I don't think I know. I've only heard it as like sensing as look it up right now. Okay. I've heard it described as sensing people literally use their 5 senses to determine what they feel about a situation, whereas intuitive people kind of have this sense of, well, I kind of already know based on, you know, some other things that I've heard, you know, they might be quicker to use like, well, I can see that, you know, you're a girl from Minneapolis and like you don't dress like a homeless person, so you're probably like this. or like the way
Is
you
it like context clues versus
yeah,
just like...
that's my sense is that even though I'm an NN, is that intuitive people try to like pull the mosaic of life into their like discoveries about people and things. Whereas sensing people are like, that is a chair. I can see it's a chair. It's wood. I know that it's wood because I can touch it and feel it. You know, if it's something that's sort of like hearsay, you know, like someone once told me that they don't really buy it as much.
Yeah, that makes sense. According to this is Myers-Briggs.org, so that seems like a legitimate resource.
Seems legit, yeah.
Sensing is paying attention to physical reality, what I hear, see, touch, taste, smell. I'm concerned with what is actually present, current, and real. I notice facts and remember the details that are important to me.
Yes.
N says paying the most attention to impressions or the meaning and patterns of the information I get. I would I would rather learn by thinking a problem through than my hands-on experience.
Yes. Yeah. So those are the key words: is impressions and
sensing.
And yeah.
Using your senses.
Well, that's S. Impressions is N.
Right.
Yeah. So like that's for me. It's like, what impression did I have of them? Like what what are they actually like?
It's almost like, well, what's a good analogy for this? I think like if you see someone do something, like they went to the bathroom, but like an N person would say, they got up at this point in time when I said this thing and they went to the bathroom. There's some, you know what I mean?
And some people are like, I don't have any evidence or data for that. Like I'm not gonna like assume that until I hear that. And intuitive people are sort of like, they're almost kind of always on a wild goose chase. Like, what are they, what do they actually
like
mean?
Reading into it, like, oh, what does that do?
Well, I think the sentence for me that I find myself doing is like, what does that actually mean? What are they actually saying? As if people have some like more like deep motive or sinister motive or whatever. Hey, Gus, just poking your head up here. Okay, let's get back out of here and go back into real life over there. Great. And so like that's kind of my sense is like, what do they actually mean? And sensing people don't have this like internal dilemma of like, oh, everyone, doesn't actually mean what they say. They're just kind of like, oh, I said that because I meant what I say. But I don't know.
Sometimes you don't say what you mean. And sometimes you don't mean what you say.
Right. F versus T, feeling versus thinking. What do you know that one pretty decently, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I think you described, we know someone who's an NFTP.
ENTP, yep.
Yeah, what he said, not
what
I said.
Yeah.
And he had, I think you actually told him, like, people have feelings.
Yeah.
Like, I think the difference between F and T is that I will rationalize and think through all of these things rather than saying, like, I feel this way and other people feel this way and that's why they acted that way. So I think N and F do have a lot more in common.
And N and F? Like intuitive people and feeling people? Right. Yeah. I mean, like the way I think about thinking and feeling is that people who think kind of lead with the facts and they're not as concerned about the repercussions of like whatever the facts might be. Like that was a bad performance of your ballet, the Nutcracker.
Instead of saying like,
and feeling people are like, would my little cousin break down crying if I told her that was the worst performance of the Nutcracker I've ever seen? Maybe I'll just say, good job, sweetie, or something like that, where I don't have to lie, but I'm not
you're not lying, but you're also not being blunt.
Yeah, you're not being blunt. And I mean, T people aren't necessarily blunt, but they're very concerned with the truth of the matter, and they're probably more concerned with being right than they are with not hurting someone's feelings.
Yeah.
And then the final thing, P versus J, perception versus judgment. I never understood those words, but I know that judgment people are like, I make lists. Everything has to be very orderly. Everything has to be defined ahead of time. And P people are a lot more like spontaneous, seat of the pants,
Yeah. I think that comes down to being in the P category is more like your perception and your interpretation of the moment.
Yes.
So like kind of like you're talking about music. Like I feel happy right now and I'm going to choose a happy song because I feel really happy. Or I feel like a little melancholy. I feel really sad. I'm going to choose a song that has to do with that.
Right.
Whereas J's are like, I want to listen to blues music because I like blues music. Whether I'm happy or sad. And that's that's fine if that's who it is. If
Right.
you make lists and you stick to it and you make these plans, you do it.
Right.
For me, there's been a lot of times in trips where I will book a flight and I will make absolutely no plans. I will tell like 2 people, like the 2 people I absolutely want to see.
That's crazy.
And then the other people, I'm like, well, if I see them, I see them, and if not, I'll call them some other time and check up on them.
Wow.
And
how do you think people take that when you do that?
some people do get a little upset. They're like,
Sure.
why didn't you tell me? Other people, I think some of those people I can play it off like, I wanted to surprise you, which I did. Like, I did want to surprise them. I wanted to be spontaneous, and like, how fun is that? Like, your friend knew you were going to be at this place and they just showed up because they knew you were going to be there.
Yeah.
But so there are people I do know who would be absolutely, like, our friendship would end if I just showed up, if they knew I was in Denver and I didn't even bother to call them.
Right.
And so that kind of has to do with the feeling versus thinking, I think.
Sure.
I have to feel out the situation. I have to think about these. How do I describe it? It's so hard.
Take your time. We're not in a rush.
You can edit all this, right?
Yeah. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to ask you a different question to keep your brain moving. The question is, have you found in your life that other people with different personality types can sometimes misinterpret kind of what a hangout is? And we actually just talked about this, but not even just that. Just like, I have a lot of friends who are like INTJs or ISTPs, like very different from me. And for them, asking someone to like, I throw like a lot of like group hangouts, right? Like 50 people were invited, come if you want to kind of things. Yeah. And people feel like they need to RSVP to me. They're like, I'm so sorry, I can't make it to your house on Thursday. And I'm like, okay, I don't care. Like I love you, but like,
thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, like that's fine. But like, I literally am just throwing this giant thing. And like, I have these very like open-ended sort of, I think this is the P side of things, the E and the P kind of working together, where it's like so whimsical and so extroverted, just do whatever.
Yeah.
And so many of my friends that are a lot more like, probably more J's, they're kind of like, well, you invited me to this event, and that was so kind of you, and I'm going to RSVP because that's the kind thing to do in response. Right. Whereas for me, if I get like a random Facebook thing, I don't even like, I never RSVP. I mean, like, I might.
Interested is my go-to.
What's that?
Interested.
Well, yeah.
Because it's so, you could be spontaneous while still having plans. Yeah, I totally know what you're saying. And I am pretty good at knowing where people stand and not being able to think like, oh, you're an IFJT.
Yeah.
So that wasn't right.
No, that was good. IFJT. Justin Timberlake right at the end there. If Justin Timberlake. Yep. It's a new one.
So I think that for the most part, I'm able to tell if I do want someone to go to something and I invite them on Facebook, there are certain people that I will actually reach out to them separately and say, hey, I would like you to come to this thing with me.
Right.
As opposed to just letting it be an open invitation.
Yes. Yeah, no, and I just, for me...
Actually, you know what's funny?
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, there are some people who will invite me to something, and I know that they've invited me specifically to invite me, and so I know that I need to RSVP specifically to them.
Yes.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and I pick up on the same thing. The N part of me has the impression of them, and it's like, I have a dear friend of mine, I won't say his name, but and he doesn't watch these, but he... like whenever I ask him to hang out, he immediately was like, "Do you have Saturday at 12:30 available?" And I'm like I'm just like, that was so like immediate and direct. And like for me, I'm just like, we should hang out this weekend. And like I literally don't even need to ever make a plan. I'm like, yeah, I know, I don't want to say his name. I can just say it. Tony, I love you. It's like, yeah, Tony, yeah, like I'll get lunch with you. And he's like, okay, how about Saturday at Pancheros at noon? And I'm like, that definitely locks me in, but I will meet you there.
How does it make you feel when you're locked into plans?
A little anxious. Yeah, a little anxious because I'm like, what if I stay up until 5 a.m. the night before, but you're just going, blah, 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 watching Game of Thrones or whatever. And so like, it feels like, I have responsibilities and actual things that I need to do. However, excuse me, burp, ENFPs do well with approaching deadlines. Like if ENFPs have something they need to do, they ultimately do it, and like the deadline helps force them to do it.
It does. Do you find like you either 1 procrastinate or 2 have a hard time getting places on time?
So I'm pretty good at both of those now. I've had to work through that. I'm a little bit older than you. So like in my adult life, as you become an older and older man, just weird gray hair. No, I'm just kidding. Like I started in college, worst procrastinator ever. Getting places on time. Yeah, pretty late to stuff. But more and more, like I've gotten like the nudge from friends, like, hey, like it isn't cool. Like you can't just like not do it. Like for example, this video was supposed to be out 8 hours ago. I have procrastinated, and Paul is upset with me. Sorry, Paul, love you. But
think about how good this video is now.
this is so good, and this wouldn't happen if we didn't have a P attitude. Okay, by the way, speaking of P's, Erica texted me at 3. Oh no, she texted me yesterday. Hey, do you want to get drinks tomorrow? Or no, want to get lunch
tomorrow.
And then right before lunch, she goes, can't get lunch. Do you want to get a drink tonight? And then tonight she's like, hey, like I gotta, like somehow don't have any plans now. What are you doing? And like as an ENFP myself, I'm like, I'm not doing anything. Let's hang out, you know? And so then we like are hanging out, and like all of this happens because we're both just kind of like willy-nilly, what's gonna happen? And that's what I love. Like I get a lot of energy from that because like I had no plans for tonight. I was gonna do some other good stuff, but like
this video.
But now we're hanging out, and I'm not, reading my book, and that's great. I mean, I want to read the book, but later.
You can read it before you go to sleep.
I will. Yes, I'll have my nightlight on. Okay, so we've gone through the 4 letters. Right. What's maybe my last question or 2 questions is, what's your weakness? What's your weakness? I'm gonna like spit here. What's your weakness that you have as an ENFP? Like what is something that you either can't do as well, or you see other people being able to do it better?
I think I overthink things. So when people are like, I just care too much. No, I literally care too much. Like that's
I work too hard.
No, it's like I understand the importance of like a relationship or like a one-time meeting or what did someone say, and I will obsess over that. And
that's very N of you. That's very impressions.
Yeah,
very,
and so for me, I think like the stupid presentation that it wasn't stupid. It was a really good meeting today.
Yeah.
But this meeting that I had today,
important
I knew
meeting,
it was
business,
important meeting.
Yeah.
And things kept coming up, and instead of just being like, oh, well, I just won't be as prepared as I would like to, I was like, I have to be way over prepared. This has to be the best meeting these people have ever had. I want them to leave being like, wow, that was amazing.
Yes.
I've never had someone be so incredibly just on point. And so I think one thing I struggle with is
nice job, by the way.
But I get caught up in the details. Even though I know
that does not sound like an ENFP. That's very impressive.
But what's interesting is that like I understand the concept. Like if you don't get the concept, the details don't matter.
So true.
But I also realize that, and so I know that, but I do get caught up in the details.
Yes.
Even though I know it doesn't matter if you don't get the concept. So I struggle.
I just want to whisper whatever. I think this is a gendered thing because women are taught that more than men, where like just like that. I really do believe that that's gendered. I feel like females are more naturally akin. I could be wrong on this, because I'm not detail. I'm not detail oriented at all. But I think that just naturally, I saw in high school, I saw most of my female friends taking meticulous notes, and I saw a lot of guys kind of, there were certain guys that were also taking super meticulous notes, but more often than not, the average guy was sort of not being as meticulous, and not as detailed and not as thorough.
Right.
And I mean, there's so many other reasons why I can make the argument, that women always do like emotional labor. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but the emotional labor, all it is remembering friends' birthdays.
I was about to ask you something about that.
In a relationship, the girl has to remember the guy's parents' birthdays and their preferences on food, and the guy's just sort of like, oh, I'm a guy. I'm just, I do the guy things.
Yeah. So I think, and now that you bring that up, it's a really good point. With getting caught up in people's details, like in the details in like people's lives. So side story, I moved on a Thursday. I had 8 of my closest friends help me move my entire apartment.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, I just kept asking people like, hey, I would say I'm moving, and people would say, "Oh, would you like help?" And I would just say yes to everyone.
Did you bribe them with beer and pizza?
Yeah, of course I fed them and gave them stuff.
That doesn't work when you're 29, by the way. You just hire movers. Anyway, keep going.
I mean, I could have done that, but this is more fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I had a bunch of people help me move. Frantically pretty much set up all my all the furniture in my apartment, took all the boxes, put them in a closet. The next day, you and 2 other people came and spent the night. The following day, I had a dance practice, another dance practice at my apartment where 5 other people showed up, and then a dance performance where I was beforehand. I got 3 people. I did 3 people's hair, and I did somebody else's makeup.
Did you say 3 of us stayed there? 7 of us stayed there.
No, yeah. Well, 3 the first night.
Oh,
okay.
And
then the 5 who showed up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, or the 4 who showed up. So we had 8 people total in my apartment.
Insane.
And then,
it's
on
a
Sunday,
small 1-bedroom in Minneapolis.
Yes, very 600 square feet.
Yes.
Tiny kitchen.
Yeah, yes.
It's a one butt kitchen. And
one butt. Yeah, it is. That's so true. Yeah.
But then the next day we had some of us went to church, some of us didn't, and then we all met up at Astor.
I went to church.
Yeah. And then we all went to this place called Astor Cafe, and we had brunch and did all this stuff.
It's delightful.
And the whole time, I was taking care of everybody and watching all the stuff and had the reservation and had all the stuff and knew where we needed to be.
You were doing a lot. You were giving keys to me, and you were driving a car with 4 people.
For me, it wasn't too stressful though. And
you were thriving. You were doing really well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, I was really impressed actually.
But I also think being an ENFP was helpful.
Yes.
But
you would have died if you were not.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
But also, I think as a woman, we are better at kind of balancing, juggling things. We're able to see I've got to do this, I got to do this, and these people are doing this, so I've got to make all of it work.
Yep.
I also have had a lot of experience and training in a way with that, with being in sales.
Yes.
In a way that you have to be flexible and you have to be able to juggle people's plans.
Because just moving targets with schedules and all this.
Yeah. So your friend who had said hey, let's meet at 12:30. I do that all the time. I'm hey, I'm gonna be there. What time are you free Wednesday afternoon? You just answer. You get to them to be oh, I'm free at 3.
Yep.
That's when we're gonna meet.
Right. I find it funny how quickly people jump to the exact detail because with an ENFP, you and I, you didn't even let me know you were coming here until yesterday. And so,
sorry.
No, I don't care. I literally don't care. In fact, this was actually more fun because it's delightful that you're here. I shouldn't say more fun. It was such a surprise. It was it's like a birthday treat or something. But I didn't ever need. Did I ever ask you? Did I ever even ask you if we were going to hang out or when or how? I didn't.
No.
I never tried to.
You're yay!
I never tried to pin you down, not once.
Yeah.
And then we hung out in the best way possible.
Well, I think by me reaching out to you. And you know that we're very similar in that we're able to say, if it's going to work out, it's going to work out. If not, bummer, I'll see you next time.
Yep.
And knowing, if I personally reach out to you,
yes,
that means that I'm extending an invitation to you. If I were to just, let
me know.
I'm going to Fargo, and just, let that be in, out into space.
Diffusal.
And then,
yes.
And then, there's other people in Fargo that I could have met
so
up
many
with.
Other, yeah.
Right. And not that I didn't want to see them. It would have been nice to see them. But it just happened to be.
That's full circle with my question about, do you find that sometimes there's sometimes people don't interpret your invitations or visits as the way that you're interpreting your own? Because you would have loved to see everyone you know in Fargo, but we're hanging out, and I think that's something as an ENFP that happens to me all the time. I say, I love you, but I also love you and you and you and you, and I love everyone.
And you end up it gets to a point where I can't have an hour-long conversation with 20 of my closest friends in one day. I just can't.
No.
I physically do not have enough time.
Right.
And so you do have to pick and choose, and sometimes it is taking...
It's hard for an ENFP. It's hard for us.
I don't think it's hard for us. I think it's hard for other people to not take it personally.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
Does that make sense? I can prioritize. I can be you know what? I want to see Jordan. And I'm sorry, I just want to make sure it's still recording. I got so nervous. I was this whole time we've been
I knocked. Gus. He's so confused. Look at me. See, that's it. Just me. Keep going, yeah.
I don't know.
We get his head in here. Hey, Gus. Thank you. No, it's hard for other people not to take it personally.
Yeah.
So
I think I find that.
And that's the people-pleasing nature that I have, is I'm intuitively thinking about how they're going to react to me not letting them know.
Yes.
And that's people-pleasing, but ultimately I do that a little bit because as an ENFP, I want people to like me. I'm just like, I want like being liked, you know?
Yeah. I think we're also like, people, like our personality type, what it was like, you pretty much get along with everybody.
Yeah.
And I think for us, when there's someone who doesn't like us,
it's like, why?
It's like, wait, but
how did you?
But everybody likes me. Why don't you like me? And they're like, I just don't like you. And you're like, but I did everything. I did the same thing to you that I did with everybody else. And it's really like
jarring. It's so hard.
All of a sudden,
There's a friend of mine. There's a guy who.
not a friend.
He doesn't like me. He's in our swing dancing community, and he would never watch this video, but he just really we're just not on the same page. He's everything that I am, he's not. Everything that he is, I'm not. And I remember immediately wanting to make it sort of I should obviously be more respected than him because I'm better in these ways, and he obviously is doing this wrong, when in reality he's just different. He's not wrong.
Right.
And it's so hard for me. Maybe I won't even say necessarily because I'm an ENFP, but just because I'm a human being that wants to be liked. It's so hard for me not to get defensive and say, well, it's his fault that this isn't working, because sometimes there's just two so different people that they just don't line up in a way that feels good to both of them.
Yeah.
And for an ENFP, where most people like us, it's like most people fit pretty well.
Yeah.
And so it's confusing and jarring when they're like, not really. And you're like, but wait, you're not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of a sudden you start getting like, are you an introspective person?
Introspective. Well, what do you mean by introspective?
Like, do you take the time to process what you're feeling, how you reacted to a situation, what you said?
Yes, yeah. It's horribly over-analytical, and I sit there replaying over and over.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. How about you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm
an extremely introspective extrovert. So I enjoy being with other people. I think I was like 95% on the... It was sick.
Yes.
On the E
so
to the I. However, I do value my alone time because I can process. I think what it is, though, is that my alone time, going... I'm sorry, I keep kicking this. Going to the bathroom by myself.
Yes.
Just being like, I'm going to excuse myself.
Yeah.
3 minutes. Mostly I just wash my hands. Because really, for a really long time, because women don't poop.
No, they don't.
But for me, even just having that very short window of time, I talk my hands. If I have a short window of time, I'm able to have enough that I can kind of think about, okay, this is what happened. This is what I said. I should probably clarify that. That sounded like I was a complete asshole. Okay, can I say that on here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I curse all the time, yes.
Good.
Yeah, no, and I do the same thing. I mean, I had some stuff this week that I was frustrated about, and it was like, I know that I need to not respond right now to this situation because in 24 hours, I will have a totally better brain processing outlook on this whole thing. So, I think that's a good 30 minutes. That's almost podcast format. So thank you, Erica.
You're welcome. Is it going to be good even when you end out all of our pausing and guessing and...
Oh, I'm just going to throw it up. The first 4 minutes, I'm going to edit out that stuff.
Oh, no.
No, we're not pausing a lot.
But the whole time we're hitting the camera.
That's your doing. That's what... Stop. Stop. Okay, it's my turn.
This was fun.
Yep. And that's Erica. I won't say her last name for privacy of all persons involved. Erica French is her last name. It's a cool last name, right? It's like...
It's a cool name.
I'm Jordan Spanish. This is Erica French. Have a great day.
John English.